Woohoo! Let's get this audience building up, guys and girls. We're on the home stretch. It is Tom Panos here from the Real Estate Gym for, of course, realestate.com.au today, where we're going to talk about what are the things you've got to do to get your car parked at the top of the hill. And I mean that, at the top of the hill, so you finish the year where you put the handbrake on and you come back in the new year where you can let go of the handbrake and start the year with momentum. Gang, as this audience is coming on, we're streaming across the country to all the real estate agents. I'm letting you know that you have a golden opportunity between now and the 24th to set yourself up for success. And in a moment, I'm going to show you some of the data that our friends from realestate.com.au have made available for you to see. There is no better time than the summer months to have your clients on the market. Why? Because I'm letting you know the absorption rate in real estate at the moment is the best I've seen it. Been working in real estate for 35 years, and on Saturday, I've got to tell you, the first three properties, 500 over reserve, 500 over reserve, 700 over reserve. Why? The appetite for real estate is better than ever. The absorption rate is helping vendors get premium prices. And you know what that means? This summer, people aren't going to be skiing in Japan. They're not going to be having a Christmas in New York. They're not going to be surfing in Hawaii. They're going to be in Australia. And you know what that means? In Australia, they're going to have their mobile phone. They're going to be sitting on the beach at Byron Bay, scrolling up, thinking to themselves, hey, there's a thing called COVID clarity. And COVID clarity means that people now are changing their minds about what they're going to do with where they live on a daily basis. So today, we're going to cover some scripts. We're going to cover some dialogues. I'm going to give you some of the practices and the calls that you've got to be making to nurture leads over the summer months. In addition to that, I'm going to be doing some live questions that have come in. Emma from REA has given me 10 or so questions which I'm going to answer that cover all aspects on real estate. But before we start off, to every real estate agent there, let me tell you, the biggest problem we've got in the industry at the moment is we've got all these real estate agents that have been doing these off-market transactions. Why? Because it's easier to get a listing, it's easier to sell, there's lots of buyers, but I'm letting you know, that's the recipe to become a secret agent. Get your pen out and start writing some of these one-liners I'm going to give you. Number one, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. Remember that. And what you want to do is make sure that you are standing out. During a period of time when a lot of people have got time to be looking at real estate, you want to be online. I've got to say to you, the first call you've got to make in real estate between now and Christmas is what I call the end of year summary phone call. And this is what it sounds like. Hi, it's Tom Panos here from XY Real Estate. This is a time of year where I give my most important clients a summary of what happened in 2020 and a forecast in what's going to happen in 2021. Here goes. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I've got to let you know, the average days on market in our marketplace is now 17. I've got to let you know, price growth has been 6% for houses and 2% for units. The absorption rate highly favors a vendor. I've got to also let you know that COVID was a gift that was badly wrapped for our marketplace. We saw big demand from buyers in the 800 to 1 million price point. In addition to that, I've got to tell you, right now, I have 157 buyers who are registered, who are ready to go, finance approved, and they're dying to buy real estate in the area. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, let me give you the forecast on what I think is going to happen in the new year. I'm worried that in March, when JobKeeper goes and holiday on mortgages goes, and maybe when people can't access their super, and the government benefits come to a bit of an end that we've got during the pandemic, I'm worried that this may soften real estate. So we're advising all our clients to come onto the market earlier rather than later to take advantage of this current marketplace. And Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, what I'd like to do is talk to you about a strategy which is called list now, launch later. That essentially means that we can have your property actually listed in our top pocket, if you like. So if we get a buyer over the summer months, before we've actually gone into real estate season again, that if there's nothing else for them to pick from, they might pay you an incredible price. You might get a premium of 10, 15%. And guess what? With no stock being on the market, you're going to be able to sell in isolation, not in competition. Guys and girls, out of role play. List now, launch later strategy is a fantastic strategy for vendors who are nervous about doing a full-on campaign, who are nervous about going straight in. But what you want to do, you want to do the right thing. You want to be on the market before Australia Day. You don't want to wait till, the normal traditional end of January, Australian Tennis Open, Australia Day, kids go back to school. No, you want to be on the market straight away. Come 4th of January, Monday, that first Monday in the new year, you want to be there. You want to be able to start showing property. And I know many of you are actually going to be working in between, just taking the public holidays off. Guys and girls, what I'm saying, get your vendors to sell in isolation, not in competition. So I want you, by the way, just in case someone hasn't been able to work it out, you don't copy everything I said. You copy and say what happened in your market. I was just giving you a template, but these end of year calls are super. And here's a really great final question on your phone calls when you're calling your database. Here it is. By the way, Mr. Client, by the way, Miss Client, how has COVID-19 impacted your real estate plans? Bang! Ask a question that gets them talking. Super important strategy, the list to launch call. And also, the most important call is that end of year summary call. Now, there are some listings out there that haven't sold. This is excess residual stock. And I'm going to give you a piece of dialogue that you can use to chase these listings before we go to the break. It is this. Hi, it's Tom Panos here from XY Real Estate. I notice you've been on the market for quite some time. What I want to ask you is, how open-minded would you be for me to spend 5 or 10 minutes with you where I talk about how we sell properties that have been sitting on the market for 3 months in 72 hours? Bang! Did you hear what I said? How open-minded would you be? Think about it. To the hundreds of people that are watching this, if you were sitting in a room where I could see you and I said, raise your hand if you consider yourself open-minded, everyone's hand would go up. Why? Because everyone wants to be open-minded. No one wants to be closed-minded. No one wants to be a bigot. No one wants to be narrow-minded. So what does that mean? Use it to your advantage. Hi, Emma, it's Tom Panos here from XY Real Estate. How open-minded would you be for me to spend 10 minutes with you to talk about how we've been selling property in 72 hours that have been on the market with other agents for 3 months? Use the open-minded strategy. Works fantastic. Let me give you another piece of dialogue that you can use at our listing presentation that is going to help you get more vendor paid advertising, provide more attraction for your vendors' properties, and of course get more buyers in, which is your job. Your job is to always sell real estate for the best price, not the first price. And I've got to say to you, everyone that's watching this, try this piece of dialogue. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I'm not sure if this is for you, but would you be interested in how we use realestate.com with Audience Maximizer in combination, not in isolation, to get vendors a 10% premium? Did you see the words I said? I'm not sure if it's for you, but you see, when you ask that question to someone, they'll say, but why wouldn't it be for me? What's he on about? What's he going on about? Gang, listen to me carefully. Words matter. The words you use will affect your success in real estate. Roger Federer gets paid for the way he hits a ball. Ronaldo gets paid for the way he kicks a ball. In real estate, you get paid for what you say, how you say it. And I'm letting you know, if you can become really good at the words, you're going to find that your conversion rate becomes a lot higher. So gang, I'm looking at my iPad and I'm thinking to myself, what are some of the things that we've got to talk about right now that matter? Firstly, I want to ask you this question. Let's do a review. This is a great time of the year for us to do a review. How real estate fit are you? Number one, do you have a daily prospecting plan? Question, do you have a daily prospecting plan? Number two, what are your energy levels like? I mean, are you at the stage now saying, hey, listen, I'm just burnt out. Oh, Tommy, tired, long year, didn't go to Mykonos this year because of COVID, really tired. Hey, listen, I'm letting you know, if you sleep well, if you eat well, if you exercise, and if you love your work, you'll have the energy. Energy is a choice. In terms of, hey, your listing presentation, do you have an unstoppable listing presentation? Is your listing presentation so good that people say, man, I don't care. They're a little bit dearer. I'm going with them. I've got to let you know, your listing presentation's got to be so good that they're internally applauding you. And I'm telling you right here, right now, have a structured presentation. Here is a script that's going to help you have structure to your presentation. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor. So this is when you're sitting down at the dining room table. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I've got to let you know, most of the vendors that I visit in our area want me to cover the following. They want me to cover the price. They want me to cover the marketing. They want me to cover how long it's going to take to sell. They want me to cover what method works best, auction for sale or expressions by interest. They also want me to cover a little bit about our fee. They want me to cover a little bit about me and my firm. Is there anything else you'd like me to cover today? That is what a structured agenda looks like. You allow them to add their agenda points, then you answer their questions. Let's move on to the next things. What are you like in the game of reviews? Are you crushing it? I mean, think about it. The year 2020 was the year that it became super clear that hardly any person will make a decision without doing a reference check on reviews. I love the fact that on REA, you can actually crush it by having a process in place, getting reviews from your buyers, from your sellers. And I'm saying to you, remember this, it's not what you say to the market, it's what the market says to the market. Very rarely, think about yourself, very rarely will you buy a product or service without sussing out what other consumers have said. Crush it in the games of reviews. And I'm letting you know that you've got access from REA to go in and look at past content that I produced that shows you how to ask for reviews. Because the girl or guy who wins the reviews wins the interviews. The next thing is, what's your profile page like? When someone Googles your name and the word real estate and the REA profile page comes up, what's it like there? Are you crushing it there? Are you actually standing out? And man, you got to stand out because you got to stand out to win out. Think about it. If you're in business, you're in show business. Perception matters. You've got to make sure that when people are scrolling with their thumb, that when they look at your profile, they say, let me find out a little bit more about him or her. In addition to that, do you have a hot 25 buyer list? Do you have 25 buyers that you know are hot, they're ready to buy, and they've got the finance approved? The best agents I know are always working with at least 25 hot buyers at any one time. And then the last one is, do you have a chase list? These are people that you're chasing at the moment, that you're trying to get onto the market. And I'm just going to tell you right here, right now, every moment you're not thinking about how to get that vendor to come closer to you is another moment you're giving your competitors to do that. Gang, your December plan, let's quickly go through it. Number one, the end of year call, which we've covered. Number two, your list now, launch later strategy. And yes, I do believe that you should have that property on the realestate.com website for the following reasons. Dita, I want you to bring up the slides because let me show you the data. Have a look at this data here. What you'll notice is that year on year, the amount of people that visit realestate.com.au goes up. This year, we're expecting that to even be more profound. Why? Because people aren't going to be overseas. Because people have decided, hey, COVID taught me one thing. My home's my castle. I need a Zoom room. Or they've decided, you know what? I want to leave this suburb and I want to move to Byron. Or you know what? I don't know. They've woken up and they've thought, I've been living in this home for 6 months with this person. I actually don't really like him. I want out. It's called divorce. It's sad, but it's happening. The point I'm making is, forget about the old system where you had your A, B's and C's. COVID clarity is a blank canvas. Everyone's a prospect. Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Pick up the damn phone. That's what you get paid for in real estate. And the girl or guy who has the most conversations wins. Let's move on to bring up some more of those slides, Dita. I got excited at those slides because they are validating what we're talking about, and that is taking advantage of buyers at the moment. You know what they're doing? They're researching more than ever. Have a look at those numbers. They are astonishing. We are not having people that sit and just watch Australia play India in the cricket. What they're doing is they're scrolling through and looking at real estate. Next slide, if you don't mind. Let's go and have a look at what the next one is, Dita. Present your best self to sellers. Guess what? They're not only looking for real estate, they're looking for you. And what that basically means is you've got to be your best you. And I'm telling you straight, you've got to make sure that your online and offline are in line. If you're a great agent offline, tell the world. Let the world know that you are BIW. And what does that mean? That means that you've got a profile page that's got all the criteria filled out. It shows that you're immersed in the community. It shows that you've gone off and done a profile video that is based on clients, not about you showing your Rolex watch. Look at me, look at my Ferrari. No, showing them that you're immersed in the community, that you're a serious pro in real estate. So guys and girls, I hope you're beginning to understand that the data is super clear. The eyeballs are on real estate this summer, and what that basically means is that you should take advantage. Fish where the fish are. They're out there right now, and I'm also going to say to you some of the rules that are going to help you going through these phone calls. So let's get to it. Some of these rules. Number one, I want you to understand, to this day, yes, we've got artificial intelligence. Yes, we've got CRM systems that make things incredible in real estate. Yes, you can be bidding anywhere on the world now with these online auctions. Yes, you can actually be sending a video to anywhere in the world within moments and getting someone to sign on a screen. But guys and girls, I'm letting you know, the best bit of technology in real estate is the phone. Pick up the phone and have conversations with your clients. You know who the best agents are? They're the ones I call high tech, high touch. Yes, they use technology, not to substitute them, to complement them, but they still speak to clients. And I got to let you know, here are the 3 clients you've got to be speaking to on a daily basis. Hot buyers, your current vendors, and prospective vendors. A couple of rules with using the phone. Number 1, learn the law of because. The law of because says this: I will always call people with a strong because, with a purpose. You don't call people wishy-washy. Oh, hi Emma, it's Tom here from the real estate. How you going? I'm just checking in. Who checks in? Parole officers. Real estate people add value. Real estate people give information. Real estate people help the community understand what's happening in the market. That's what your job is. So here are 4 or 5 calls you've got to be making in real estate. Number 1 is the just listed call. Number 2 is the just sold call. Number 3 is the anniversary call. Number 4 is the expired stale listing call. Number 5 is the vacant rental listing call. And to everyone that's a property manager that might be watching this, let me tell you, there's a lot of owners out there who've got their properties vacant for 3 or 4 weeks with other agents. Man, let them know you're around. And to the real estate agents, don't underestimate the opportunity of ringing vacant rental listings. Here's what the call sounds like. Hey, it's Tom Panos here from XY Real Estate. I know you're not selling, but you're trying to rent out your property. I'm going to be brief. The reason I'm calling is because there are many landlords at the moment who are absolutely astonished at the prices that we're getting for real estate. Some have been so tempted so much that they've actually chosen to sell their property than to rent their property. If I had a buyer that had $1 million to spend, would I be wasting my time mentioning your property? Bang! Gang, play the numbers game. More conversations equals more opportunities, equals more appointments, equals more money. So, the law of because is critical. Always call with a strong because. The next law, when you're using the phone, is called the law of schedule. What gets scheduled gets done. Never forget that. What gets scheduled gets done. Let's face it. You're not going to cancel an open for inspection this Saturday just because you don't feel like doing it. You're not going to cancel going to an auction just because you don't feel like doing it. You're not going to cancel going to your listing presentation. But guess what? You know, I'm staring at you. You've often cancelled your prospecting. Why? Because it's easy to not prospect. But I'm letting you know, there's a law in real estate. It's called the 30-day rule. What you do in this 30 days affects the next 90 days. It's your obligation, guys and girls, every day of the week to have a daily prospecting plan. And the last reason I'm going to tell you why people don't really crush it in the world of using the phone and prospecting is that they don't have a list of people to call. Powerful list equal powerful results. Have a list of people to call before you start your prospecting. And if you're the procrastinator, you know the type that sits there on the computer, stares at the computer and says, I know I should be calling, but I haven't. I want to introduce you to what is called the 4-minute rule. What the 4-minute rule says is this. Even if you don't feel like doing something, even if you're procrastinating, you've got call reluctance, force yourself to do 4 minutes. Why? Because the research in behavior shows if you can go past the 3.5-minute mark, you're in the game. You've started. Whether that's exercise, whether that's prospecting, anything in life, just start. 80% of winning is beginning. And I'm letting you know, if you can embrace the 4-minute rule, there's all these things that you always put off, you're going to start doing. And I know what you're like. Chances are, if you're putting things off, it's not because you're lazy. Maybe you're a perfectionist. And by the way, perfectionism and procrastination, they're married. They are partners. Everyone that I know that's a procrastinator is a perfectionist. And a perfectionist is a procrastinator. And I'm letting you know, 80% of winning is just beginning. It's the first domino. And in real estate, there are too many real estate agents that say they're going to do this. They got the right intention. They're full of ideas. But I'm telling you straight, ideation without execution is delusions. It's not what you intend to do, it's what you actually do. So ask yourself this. Will you do what I've told you? Will you pick up the phone between now and Christmas and get onto those calls and do those end-of-year summary calls? And for many of you that are thinking, but Tom, I haven't spoken to a client for such a long time. Say sorry. Just ring them up and say, hey, Emma, it's Tom. Firstly, I want to apologize. I should have been in touch earlier. Secondly, can I ask you, is there any help I can give you at this time? That's not hard to do. Man, get into a conversation. You'll be shocked at how many people will say, how's the market, Tom? How's the market? It is the most common thing I've been asked for 35 years of real estate. I walk down the road. Tom, how's the market? Tommy, what's the market doing? Gang, if anyone ever asks you how's the market, here's your response. It's strange at the moment. It's different for different people. Are you talking more like buying, selling, renting, or investing? Oh, we're thinking of buying. Well, let me tell you, right now is a golden opportunity because prices are on the up. Oh, Tom, we're thinking about selling. Well, let me tell you, right now, if we had more properties, we'd sell more properties. Gang, the point is, don't go off and give them a full life history of real estate. Find out what matters to them and then deliver that. Let's move on. The next thing I want to do before I actually move into some questions, is talk to you about some of the power words and scripts. And listen, hey, I know what you're thinking. Tom, but I want to be authentic. I just want to do my own thing. Hey, listen here. Scripts are not about not being authentic. Scripts and dialogues are telling the truth efficiently. Never use 1,000 words when 50 will do. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not actually going to give you a word-for-word script. I'm going to give you some power dialogue. In fact, this dialogue is often trained in legal school to help solicitors, barristers, and people that have got to convince a jury to change their mind. They're taught powerful dialogue. Why? Because words matter. Words change people's lives. So what I want to do is run through 5 or 6 scripts that are going to help you. They're going to help you when you're dealing with buyers through the next 2-3 months. And by the way, don't forget the buyers, gang. They're there. Pick up the phone, go to all your old open for inspection lists, go to all your realestate.com inquiry and ask them this simple question. Hey, I noticed that you'd inquired about property some time ago. We're just going through and making sure that we've covered all bases. May I ask you, are you buying or browsing at this time? That's one script to a buyer. Or another one is, can I ask you, what are the 3 non-negotiables in your next purchase? Oh, Tom, we've bought. Wham, bang, we've worked out. That's where they stand. And by the way, here's a great script to use with buyers. A lot of people say, Tom, really? Listen to it. To a buyer, hey, can I ask you, have you sold from where you've come from yet? When they say, no, not yet, bingo, potential vendor. You ask powerful questions, you get powerful results. So gang, get your pen out, because I'm going to give you 5 or 6 pieces of dialogue that are going to give you the framework that you can actually ask to a buyer, a seller, a landlord, a tenant, anytime you want to use influence. And by the way, can I just say to you, you use influence to help people, not to hurt people. Please understand, any of you that follow me in the real estate gym know that my position is this. You do stuff to help people, because if you help enough people, you'll help yourself. I'm not into commission breath. I'm not into deceptive games. I'm into telling people the truth, what they need to hear. So let's go through it. The first one is, I'm not sure if it's for you, but. The second one is, how open-minded would you be? The third one is, what's your experience? Great. That is a great question. What's your experience to a vendor at a listing presentation? Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, can I ask you, what's your experience with real estate marketing? Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, what's your experience with selling a property before? Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, when you sold a property before, what did you like most about the process and what didn't you like? Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, if you picked the perfect agent and the campaign went brilliantly, can you tell me what would that look like in your eyes? That are the sort of questions that you've got to be asking, open-ended questions. Here's another one. How would you feel? You see, when you ask someone, how would you feel? What you're doing is you're moving that person from where they are now to a destination in the future where they can actually feel the emotions. And I'm going to tell you, why is this important? Because people make decisions emotionally and then they justify them logically. How would you feel? And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how you can use it, but I've got to tell you, I used it on Saturday myself. A property got passed in, the buyer wouldn't increase their offer, and I just said this to them. How would you feel if another buyer came along today and paid an extra $10,000 and took this property from you? The buyer said, well, we'd expect you to give us a call and let us know if something were to happen. Straight away, that said to me, there's more money in this buyer. How would you feel? The next one is this, just imagine. Just imagine. You see, when you say just imagine, what you're doing is you're taking someone and you're actually putting them into a new world where they start thinking about that alternative. The next one is, could it be possible? Could it be possible? You know, when they go in And you have, I don't know what it's like, you've got some agents that go in and they say, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, guess what? I've got a buyer that's going to pay $1 million for your property. Yeah. And you know what? You don't have to advertise it. You don't have to go onto the market. We can do it off market. Here's how you would use could it be possible. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, could it be possible the other agent? Could it be possible the other agent? Could it be possible? I just realized I'd moved off the cross I had to be standing on. But are we all good? Thank you. Here's how you use this. Could it be possible, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, the other agent came in and told you that they had a buyer that would pay $1 million just to sign you up, because there's a principle in real estate and it's called sometimes the biggest liar gets the job. Could it be possible that this agent was lying just to get your listing, sign you up, make it easy for you to sign, say, no, don't need to spend any money marketing, we've got a buyer. Could it be possible they were signing you up and then they would hit you with a hammer and get your price down? Could it be possible, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, that agent was misleading you? And I've got to say, one of the best pieces of dialogue I've used at listing presentations with my clients to just to out these agents that lie is this. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, if another real estate agent came along and guaranteed you 40 days of sunshine during a marketing campaign, would you believe them? Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, of course you wouldn't believe him. Real estate agents don't control the weather and real estate agents don't control the market. They work in the market. At best, they can influence the market. The market sets the market. At best, a real estate agent can influence the market. And what I'd like to do, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, if it's okay with you, is how open-minded would you be for me to show you how the process and not the promise of a price is going to get you top dollar? Bang! Gang, you've got to win business on process and not on price, because if all you're doing is lying about what you're going to get for them, you're going to end up becoming the king of listing overpriced turkeys. So gang, let me start using some of the scripts and dialogues that you might use on a day-to-day basis. Here's the first one. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I'm not sure if it's for you, but would you be interested in finding out how most of our smart vendors are using List Now, Launch Later during the summer months? The next one, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, can you please help me understand why going offline is more important than getting the best price? The next one, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, can you help me understand why paying the lowest fee is more important for you than getting the highest price? Guys and girls, I want you to spend this period to enjoy with your family, rest, relax, but I also want you to sharpen the saw. I want you to come back real estate fit. And what I mean by real estate fit, I want you to come back and you want to be a black belt of real estate. I want you to have an unstoppable listing presentation. I want you to be exceptional in your vendor paid advertising skills. I want you to be able to have a plan for social media. And I'm not talking about a plan for social media where you're posting, oh, Tommy, you should look at this story I put up. I had 1,500 people look at my story. Have a look. Hey, listen here. Listen to me. Having someone that's got a pottery shop in Venezuela looking at your story ain't gonna get you a listing in St. Kilda. Do you understand? Being famous on Instagram is like being rich in Monopoly. Gang, at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to become the Google of your marketplace. And what matters is people in your marketplace. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start running through some of the questions that have come in from the audience that realestate.com collected, and I'm letting you know our friends at REA have been incredible in 2020 throughout the time of the year where there's been a few challenges with the marketplace. A couple of the initiatives have meant we've been able to keep things ticking over, but guess what? We're all out of the big stage 4 now. Now's the time to get more active than ever. So here is the first question. What is your touch point number 1 between now and December 25? Here's my touch point. Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Pick up the damn phone. That's what you get paid for. Understand? Having conversations in the marketplace. And I know what it's like We sometimes personalize rejection. People are rude to us on the phone. Guess what? That's the price to pay for freedom in real estate. I'm going to tell you, rejection is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. You want to succeed? Fail faster. The second question is, apart from Christmas Day, when in December and January should cold calling stop? Okay. Well, I wouldn't be doing it on Christmas Day, correct? And I probably wouldn't be ringing up someone on Christmas Eve saying, "Hi, it's Tom, your local agent. Would you like a market appraisal?" No, I wouldn't be doing it. And I probably wouldn't be doing it on New Year's Day. But I got to tell you what, if you've got something useful to say to people in between Christmas and New Year's, not necessarily the public holidays, pick up the phone. People have got time. They don't have the busyness of work. Pick up the phone. So as far as I'm concerned, hey, get public holidays out. Be mindful of, various religious days with people. But as far as I'm concerned, you know what? Come January the 4th, it's business as usual for Australia. This ain't going to be starting after the Australian Tennis Open like normal years. Man, we're back in business. The next one is best ways to contact people who may not have touched base with you for a long time. Hey, pick up the phone. Hi, it's Tom Panos here. Firstly, I want to apologize. I should have been in touch earlier. That's it. Say sorry. Saying sorry is one of the most powerful things that you can say in life. People all of a sudden respect that. Next question. Communication, email, call, text, how frequent? Well, man, we could go on for ages and ages. Let me tell you, communication works in combination, not in isolation. As far as I'm concerned, phone calls are best. But if you really want to look at what's going to give you the highest impact, it's called emotional contagion. And emotional contagion will only happen if you're eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly with someone, and that is being face to face with them. The next thing I was going to say to you is that emails, listen, the open rate of emails has dropped significantly, so I would say that text messaging is a far better strategy. But trust me, at the end of the day, if you're using just emails and text as a strategy, you're going to find that there's an agent in your marketplace that's probably dumber than you, doing better than you, because they're actually speaking to the client. The next one is, what is your take on what are the main factors to choosing an agent? Is it always about price and commission? Do you think presentations and flashy marketing play still a part? Hey, here are the 5 reasons why someone's going to list with you. Number 1, you listened to them. Number 2, you understood their problem. Number 3, you solved their problem. Number 4, they liked you. Number 5, they trust you. If you have the first 4 but you don't have trust, it's out the window. They're the 5 reasons. Now, as to having things such flashy presentations, hey, yes, a nice presentation is better than a bad presentation. But people don't list with presentations, they list with you. You are the product. And what that means is that you've got to be on track. You've got to be looking in their eyes. You've got to have authenticity. You've got to connect. You've got to have energy. You've got to solve their problem. Not some PowerPoint deck, not some comparable sales analysis. Yes, they will help you, but I'm telling you straight, the most important reason why people are going to list with you is you. You're the product. Good question to ask yourself. Would you list with you? Next one. What is the number 1 thing a new agent should be focusing on? Okay, the number 1 thing is this, not money. Not money. Because if you're focused on money, you've got commission breath coming out of your mouth. What the number 1 thing a new agent should be focused on is the combination of sharpening the saw. Become good at your craft. Become a pro. Don't just sort of participate in real estate. You want to dominate in real estate, and that means studying, learning from the best, doing courses, listening to podcasts, finding out what best practice is. Number 2, build your damn database. What you want to start doing is putting people in. You see, every name and email that goes into your database is pretty much a deposit into your account. And I want you to start building a database. What you want to do is to get to 1,000 people that want to get stuff from you on a regular basis. The third thing that you've got to be doing if you're a brand new agent is to build your brand. And the way that you build your brand is you look at all the marketing availables out there in the marketplace. You see, in real estate, we're blessed because if you're good at getting vendor paid advertising, you actually are going to get a profile regardless. It's a default. Now listen carefully. You don't get vendor paid advertising because it's good for you. You get vendor paid advertising because it's good for your client, but you get a benefit out of that, right? You get a benefit out of that. So it's building your brand. And how do you build your brand? You got 2 interviews. You got a digital interview and you got a social interview. You got to crush it on social, and I've got to tell you, if you haven't done already, you should go off and have a look at Audience Maximizer, because when you've got social media attached, to your listings, all of a sudden you're getting the active buyers and sellers looking at you on REA, and then you're also getting the passive buyers and sellers that are being hit on social media platforms. The next thing is, how do you create urgency in a market with an average days on market of over 120 days? How do you create urgency? Well, the first thing is, can you listen very carefully to the people out there that have vendors that say, we're not in a hurry, don't worry, just keep it off market, we'll just keep it there. Listen, I'm telling you straight, the longer it stays on the market, the cheaper it gets. Do you think milk and bread get dearer sitting at Woolworths and Coles on the shelf? They get cheaper. And I'm letting you know, you've got to say that to vendors. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I've got to let you know, the longer you stay on the market, the cheaper it gets. So to the person that wrote this question in, if you've got properties that have been sitting on the market for 120 days, may I say that you're probably listing everything? And what I'm going to say to you is list less properties, but list better quality properties. And how do you list better quality properties? You look at the 5 KPIs. First KPI is the vendor realistic? Number 2, is the vendor motivated? Number 3, is the vendor giving you a fair fee? Number 4, has the vendor invested in marketing, or are they asking you to waste your time and money? And number 5, are they nice people? I'm letting you know, they're the 5 KPIs on whether a listing should be listed. Now, I get it. You can't get all 5. But I'm telling you, if you get the 5 crosses, that business is not for you. Listen to me. List what sells. The secret is pick the stuff that's going to sell. Let's move on to the next. How do you start happily and regain momentum after Christmas and the New Year break? It starts now. It doesn't start on January the 4th. You do what I said earlier on. You make sure that you call as many people as possible and you get them locked into your system now. And you say things like, hey, I want to have first move. When we come back in the new year, get the first photographer, first videographer, book our auctioneer. Make sure that we're able to come in and do the photo shoot in time. So what I'm saying is sign it up. Trust me. There are many people that are going to say to you, oh, let's pick it up in the new year. You know what? You're having luck as your strategy, because during the new year, they're going to talk to a lot of friends and family. They're going to run into people and they might be told, not use you, use another agent. So that's why I'm saying to you, January 4th starts today. That's right. The day today is the 9th. The 9th of December. You've got 2 weeks essentially to get yourself locked in a way to have that car on the top of the hill. Let's move on to the next question, because I'm mindful of time. How to start happily. Yes, we've done that. Ideas to be in contact with the existing database. Okay, let me go through them again. Just listed calls, just sold calls, anniversary calls, expired listing calls, the total year summary call. They're the main calls that you've got to do. And I've got to say to you, no commission breath. Sometimes it's as simple, is there any help I can give you in real estate at this time? Okay, next question. Nurturing, what form of prospecting do you think will be most beneficial in a market with extremely low levels of stock? The telephone, building your profile, and more importantly, understanding that even if you can't list the properties now because there's not a lot, you want to be in a position that you're on the shopping list when they do come onto the market. And I am mindful that there has been a listing shortage in various parts of Australia. But please listen to me very carefully. The best agents that I know have had record months: September, October, November. Real estate's the highest paid hard work and the lowest paid easy work. What category are you in? And the last question, gang, is here. What type of prospecting would we be focusing most of your energy in a market with an extremely low level of stock? Guess what? 2 people asked the same question. Makes it a great question. And the good news is, I don't have to answer it again. So guys and girls, this comes towards this end of this presentation. But my final words to everyone out there. Hey, listen, what a year. In March or April, we were running for cover. We had no idea what was going to happen in the world. Today, let's be clear. We're the lucky ones. We are in the best part of the world. US, things are crazy. Europe, things are crazy. Here in Australia, life is good. The beaches are open. The Gold Coast is open. Melbourne's back in business. But I'm asking you this simple question. Have you taken responsibility to be the best agent you can be? So my final words to everyone watching this, presented to you by realestate.com.au, ask yourself this question. Number 1, listen to me very carefully. Things get better by choice, not by chance. Is luck your strategy, or are you making the right choices? Number 2, accept personal responsibility. You're the problem, you're the solution. Things get better when you get better. Number 3, I hope that you come back with a clear plan in 2021, and these are the 3 targets you need to have. Number 1, number of listings you want to list for the year. Number 2, number of sales you want to make for the year. Number 3, total GCI coming into the business. Get that? Then add a few goals on your social media, get better on your vendor paid advertising, become a brand within your marketplace, because remember, real estate is a brand game. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. And brand is what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. And you've got a golden opportunity using the REA platform to tell the whole world during the summer break that you are standing out from the pack. Tom Panos signing off here today, and I want to leave you with my favorite words as I finish each presentation. Choose to have a future bigger than your past, and never let your personal history get in the way of your destiny. Who you are is not who you can be. Signing off, have a great break.